Good morning. Today is Sunday, October 26th, 2025. Why Avraham? Why is Avraham the person that God chooses to offer this incredible journey and destiny and everything that comes from the moment of what we usually call the moment of the beginning of Jewish history, when God says to Avraham, Lech lecha me'artzecha, go from your land, from your birthplace, and to the place that I'll show you, and you'll become a great nation. That's what we commonly call the beginning of Jewish history. But why Avraham? And the fact that we even have this question is kind of strange, because there is nothing about Avraham before these words at the beginning of our Torah portion that would give us any hint to why he was singled out to the person, to be the person that God says, I'm going to make you a great nation. And it's strange because let's remember Noach from last week's Torah portion. In fact, Noach, there were two things that God said about Noach that indicated that he might be the person. If there is one person that's going to be saved from the flood, it would be him. Remember, at the end of the Parsha Bereshis, we discussed this last week, where God says, "V'Noach matza chen b'nei Hashem." Noach found favor in the eyes of God. And one opinion was that was the reason that he was saved. And then yesterday, in the beginning of the Torah portion of Noach, V'Noach ish tzaddik haya. He was a tzaddik. He was righteous. So we have a difference of opinion about which of the two things that God said about Noach is the one that he was chosen for. Fine, but there are two magnificent things that God says to him and about him before he's chosen. Moshe, we see acting in three different contexts as a young man that make it clear to us that he's a person that stands up for justice. He stands up for the underdog. He comes to the aid of anyone who needs help. He clearly is a natural leader. So why does God tell us nothing about Avraham? There's not even a hint of what it could be that is the reason that Avraham is chosen. So concerning the second question of why we don't know the answer to that, I don't have any answer. Why doesn't God give us a hint? But then let's just take the most basic question. So why was Avraham chosen? If the Torah doesn't say anything, what do our sages say about why Avraham is the one who is chosen? Well, there are three possibilities that are mentioned among the classic commentators. One is that Avraham was an iconoclast. He was the breaker of idols. And this is based on a speech that was given by Yehoshua, who is the successor of Moshe, after the Jewish people crossed into the land of Israel. And part of this speech is contained, or paraphrased, I should say, into the Pesach Haggadah that we say on the first and second night of Pesach every year. Long ago, your ancestors, including Terach, the father of Avram and Nachor, lived beyond the Euphrates and worshipped other gods. So Avram's father, Terach, was an idol worshiper. And according to the comment in our midrash, our rabbi say, he was a salesman. He made and sold idols. And one day, young Avraham came and smashed all the idols. So the famous story, his father came back, and he said to him, what happened to all the idols? And Avraham, being a quick-thinking young lad at that time, said, well, here's what happened. One idol got upset with the other idols, and he destroyed all the other idols. So Terach said, "What, are you making fun of me? I mean, they're pieces of clay. One idol can't go destroy the other idols. It's ridiculous. You're making fun of me?" And then Avram said, "No, I'm not making fun of you, but if an idol can't do anything, why are you worshiping idols? It's nonsensical." In other words, Avraham was the first person to challenge the idols of his age. He was the first person to go against the stream of his age. He had the courage to challenge what everyone else believed to be true. And we refer to Avraham, I've shared this with you before, as Avraham ha'ivri. So we translate that as Avraham the Jew. But Ivri really means from the other side of. And the simple meaning is that once Avraham was living in Israel, he was known as Ha'ivri, the one who came from the other side of the river. Because Avraham originally came from the place east of what is now Israel, east of the Jordan River. He's the one who comes from the other side of the Jordan River. And I've shared with you before, the insight of our sages, the much deeper insight, that Avraham was a person who was able to say that even if everyone in the world is on one side of a river in their beliefs or actions, and I am alone on the other side of the river with my beliefs and my actions, which I am certain to be true, I'm willing to be the only one on my side of the river. I'm an iconoclast. I have found what is correct, and even if no one else agrees with me, I'm willing to stand by myself on the other side of the river. And for that, Avraham was chosen to start a new nation, a new people, based on a new system of values, God's values, which had never existed before. Rambam, Maimonides, has a different opinion. The Rambam says that Avraham was a philosopher because the Rambam explains that originally Adam and Noah, they believed in God. We know they believed in God. God spoke to them. They spoke to him. But after the time of Noah, people started to develop into idolatry. And they did not worship one God. They worshipped idols, the sun, the moon, the little clay things that they built, that they made. And the Rambam writes as follows. As soon as Avraham was able to think for himself, he began to busy his mind. He wondered, how is it that this planet should continuously be in motion but have no mover? It doesn't make logical sense. He had no teacher, no one to instruct him, until he attained the way of truth and knew that there is one God. And Avram was 40 years old when he recognized this. According to the Rambam, Avram was the first Aristotelian, the first person to think his way logically through to God as the force that moves the sun and all the stars and the earth and everything else. And the Rambam goes further to say that we all are capable of that. The Rambam says that any person who devotes themselves to philosophical truths and is not motivated by any kind of outside interference can eventually, by logic, by reason, come to the conclusion that there must be one God. That's the Rambam. And there's a third view. It's based on another midrash, another passage from our rabbis, and it is explained and expressed beautifully by Rabbi Jonathan Sacks. The Midrash says as follows, starting with the pasuk, Vayomer Hashem el Avram, lech lecha me'artzecha me'oladtecha me'beis avicha. God says to Avram, leave your land, leave your birthplace, leave your father's house. And then the rabbis say in this Midrash, to what can this be compared? To a man who was traveling from place to place when he saw a palace in flames, bira dolekes, a palace in flames. And he wondered, is it possible that the palace has no owner? And the owner of the palace looked out and said, I am the owner of this palace. And so Avraham Avinu, Avraham our forefather, said, is it possible that the world lacks a ruler? And then God looked out and called to him and said, I, God, am the ruler, the sovereign of the universe. Lech lecha, and I'm commanding you to go to the place that I'll show you. Now, this is a very mysterious midrash. What is the point exactly? There's a palace, it's on fire. I am the owner of the palace. This is the approach that Rabbi Jonathan Sacks takes to understanding this midrash. Avraham was struck by the contradiction between the order of the universe, right? There's a palace, so somebody had to have made the palace, right? A palace doesn't just exist by itself. Someone had to have made the palace, but it's in flames. There is disorder. There's chaos. And Avram compared this to the situation of the universe. There's a universe, a world. I'm in this world, the earth. It's so complicated. It's so intricate. It had to have had a creator. And yet, when I look around at humanity, it's in flames. It's in chaos. This person does that. This person does that. This person does that. Everyone does what they want. It's in chaos. How is it possible that a beautiful, intricate world created by God could be filled with such evil? If someone takes the trouble to build this world, this palace, why would they leave it in flames? Why would they take the trouble to create the universe and then just leave it to be disfigured and ruined by the Creator's own creations? According to this, what moved Avraham was not philosophical harmony, but moral discord. The only way to resolve the dissonance between the intricacy that points to a creator and the chaos of how people are actually acting is by protesting evil and fighting it, to bring order into the chaos, to bring justice into the context of evil. And that is the poignant meaning of the Medrash when it says that the owner of the palace, in our mashal, this is God, who looks out and says, I am the owner of this palace. Why does God do that? It's as if God was saying to Abraham, I built this palace. Now it's in flames. I need you to help me to put out the flames. I need you, God says to Avram, I need you to help me bring order out of this chaos, bring justice out of this iniquity. Avraham is the first person in recorded history to protest the injustice of the world in the name of God rather than accept it in the name of God. When Avram says in the words that we will read soon, Hashofet kol haaretz lo yaseh mishpat, God, you're going to kill, in next week's Torah portion, God, you're going to kill all the inhabitants of Sodom. You're going to kill the righteous together with the wicked. Hashofet kol haaretz lo yaseh mishpat, the judge of the entire world. Shouldn't you not act justly? Avram claims. God, you have to act with justice. I don't accept that you're going to destroy the entire city of Sodom when I, a human being, see it as being unjust to treat the evil, the righteous along with the wicked. Avram was the first person to do that. Noah didn't do that. When God said to Noah, I'm going to destroy the entire world, and remember, we discussed this last week, that includes righteous people together with evil people, Noah accepted it. Said, okay, how long do you want the ark to be? Noah did not protest, that we know in any way, did not protest the injustice. I'll put it in quotation marks, the injustice, because we discussed it and explained it another way last week. Noah does not protest against God. God, how can you destroy the whole world except for me? I mean, that guy's a nice guy, and this person is a good person, and these children, they didn't do anything wrong. Abraham is the first. Abraham is chosen because he is the first, and he teaches us that our mission in life is a continuation of his, to bring the world that is a little closer to the world that ought to be. Avraham Avinu, Avraham, our father. That's why he was chosen. My friends, I wish you a great day, and I look forward to seeing you soon in person.